And yes, that music, of course, confirms that it is Sunday sermon time. And I thought this week I'd introduce you to a new person that we've discovered this week. Yes, a gentleman, I'm going to call him Komi Keir. Now, you might otherwise know this person as Keir Starmer. But actually, we've learnt this week that there's a different person within the body of Keir Starmer, and I'm going to call him Komi Keir. Because previously, of course, Komi Keir wanted Komi Jeremy to be Prime Minister. Do you remember that? Back in 2019, Keir Starmer, Komi Keir, was quite happy for Komi Jeremy to be leader of the Labour Party. Do you remember how Komi Keir tried to stop democracy? He tried to prevent the carrying out of Brexit. He wanted a second referendum. He didn't want the first democratic mandate to be upheld. And of course, Komi Keir, in his authoritarian way last year, he wanted to keep us locked up, didn't he? Do you remember July 21? All of us desperate to be allowed out, to get back to normal. No reason to keep us locked up. He said it was reckless to get rid of the lockdowns. Reckless was the words he used. He just wanted authoritarian control over us. These are the classic traits of a commie. And this week, Komi Keir has shown his first big policy announcement, the one that you can sort of say, goodness me, he's actually got off the fence. He might have some splinters in his backside, but no, he's actually got off the fence. And he's put forward a policy that nobody is talking about on the doors. I've knocked on tens of thousands of doors in the last year or so. Not a single person has asked about this issue. But no, Komi Keir wants to put VAT on independent school fees, where at the moment there's no VAT. So he's come off the fence. He basically wants the state to control everything. Now, he's using clever language, saying that these independent schools, because they've got charitable status, there's a tax incentive. Where actually, listening to the truth, folks, the truth is that the opposite is true, because we all pay, or everybody who pays tax, you pay a contribution to the education system, so that if you have children, then you've got a state school place ready and waiting for you that you've paid for. So if you then decide to pay again to send a child to an independent school, you're paying double. It's not an incentive, you're paying literally double. And now the Komi Keir, he wants to make you pay even more. So basically he wants you to pay treble. Now, Komi Keir says that's going to raise £1.7 billion to invest in helping every state school improve the quality of their education. But I think we need to just do a little fact check on that number, shall we? And when you do that, a very simple calculation that I'm now going to run through shows that it's completely absurd. It won't raise a single pound. And here's the reason why. Because his 1.7 billion figure is the total amount. That's 20% on all the school fees from the 550,000 pupils that go to independent schools. But you see, if you charge VAT on the fees, then a school can recover the VAT on its costs and deduct that. Whereas at the moment, independent schools do not recover VAT on their costs. So if you do that recovery of costs, all of a sudden, that's 400 million quid. So 1.7 billion drops down to 1.3 billion. Grab a pen, write these down. So next up. Now, obviously, many parents work hard, aspirational, wanting to do the best for their children, scrimping and saving to be able to afford to pay double to send their child to the school that they want to. And that should be absolutely their right. But Komi Keir doesn't want you as a parent to have the right to choose for the best for your children. No, no, no. He wants to allocate, to tell you what you must do, where you must send your child. About 20% of those children who currently go to independent schools, their parents wouldn't be able to afford the extra 20% VAT. So they'd send them back into the state system. That's 100,000 pupils, £6,000 a place, which is roughly the allocated cost. That's 600 million. So we've gone from 1.7 down to 1.3 billion, lock off 600 million. We're down to 700 million pounds. Now, many of these independent schools will now close. Obviously, Comi Keir, that's what he wants. He wants them to shut. And currently, the independent schools, as part of their charitable status, they offer bursaries to pupils of parents who cannot afford the fees. And the total value of those bursaries to disadvantaged pupils is about £500 million. 500 million, total value of those bursaries. So the independent schools won't be able to afford to offer those bursaries. And if they've lost their charitable status, they've got no incentive to do so. So that comes off. We've gone from 1.7 to 1.3 to 700, knock off 500. We're down to £200 million. Now, we've now got well over 100,000 pupils back in the state system. Well, that's a few more seats, a few more desks. In fact, it's a few more classrooms, isn't it, folks? So then the state has got to build some more classrooms. It's got to employ more teachers. That's going to be at least another 200 million a year. So, in the space of a couple of minutes, I've shown how Labour's 1.7 billion pipe dream is down to zero. Literally zero. Now, surely, Keir Starmer and his team, they're not stupid, are they? No, I don't think they are stupid. I mean, you'd have to be stupid to think that you get that 1.7 billion number. They're not stupid, they know this. Which proves, therefore, that actually their real agenda is they want to control parental choice. Literally, in an authoritarian way. They want to shut down the independent school sector. They want control of everything. Ironically, if loads of those schools goes bust in these big old buildings, they'll be sold off to rich people who'll either go and live in those big houses, those big buildings, or they'll develop them for housing and make huge profits. Surely hardly what the Labour Party would want. Quite extraordinary. Let me suggest to you the opposite, that actually, for centuries, education has been at the forefront of what is accepted as a charitable endeavour. Educating people is a charitable cause. Just have a think about this. So, if an 18-year-old is doing their A-levels at an independent school, and under Keir's idea, they'll be paying 20% on their school fees. But an older 18-year-old that's just gone to university, hang on, universities have tuition fees, and universities are charities. But only 40-odd% of young people go to universities, so they're the elite compared to those who don't go to university. So what we must do, of course, in order not to discriminate, is we must put VAT on university fees. The Labour Party don't seem to work that out, do they? Otherwise, that'll be discrimination. And we don't approve of discrimination, do we, Comi Keir? Eh? Surely not. So, if they try and not charge VAT on university fees, but just jealously and enviously, because they want to shut down the whole independent system, charge VAT on school fees, that's discrimination. That's against human rights. That will end up in the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, faster than you can say Jack Robinson. The only people who benefit are the lawyers. There's no financial logic to this. I've just proven it. I've just proven that actually it's discriminatory. Oh, here's another thing. Here's another thing. Did you know that 39% of all pupils at independent schools are from ethnic minorities, compared with 18% of the UK population? So this policy of Labour's is actually discriminatory against those of an ethnic minority. That's another extraordinary fact you didn't see in the Labour Party press release. The truth is that Comi Keir wants control. He wants a classless society, and that is literally the definition of communism. Absolutely the definition. I believe you should do the opposite, because actually, think about this. What happens if you had more independent schools that took away more pupils from the state system, that therefore had less of a burden on the state purse, would mean that you've got more space in classrooms, you've got smaller state classes, which means there's less pressure on the teachers. Everybody's a winner. So actually, rather than putting extra tax on already heavily taxed, hard-working, aspirational parents, what about giving tax relief? Because they've done a favour to the Treasury and other taxpayers. But no, that's the proof. That's the proof that actually it's all about jealousy and shutting down the independent sector. Now, we also know, here's another thing. We also know, of course, that we've got a health crisis. We know that many more people are scrimping and saving to go and buy private healthcare because they can't wait months and months and months for an operation. But at the moment, did you know there's no VAT on private medical insurance? There's no VAT on private healthcare, on operations to replace a hip or something like that. There's no VAT on that. So that's the next thing coming down the pipe from Komi Kia. Just you mark my words. They'll be trying to put VAT on healthcare insurance, on health operations, when again, all that's going to do is put more burden on the already overstretched NHS. But of course, that's the authoritarian control that Komi Kia and his Komi colleagues, that they actually want. They want more state control. They don't want you to have choice. They don't want competition. Competition's a good thing. It improves standards. It drives prices down. If you have a monopoly, prices go up, standards go down, people get complacent. You might have a view on this. What's your view? Do you think I'm right? Do you think it's Komi Kia at his very best? The first time we've really seen it? Or would you like to see VAT on school fees? That is one of my big questions of the day. As I say, I think the absolute opposite should happen. I think that we should be encouraging more competition, more independent schools, relieving the state system of more pupils, to encourage competition, to increase standards everywhere, to reduce the pressure. So you should give tax relief to hard-pressed, aspirational parents, including particularly the ethnic minority parents who are working incredibly hard to save, to do the best for their children, which is a wonderful, the most noble thing that you could imagine, surely. And the same will be true of healthcare. If you want to reduce the pain, then you want an operation sharpish. You don't want to wait months. You wait. So, ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday morning, with just 21 days to Christmas, extraordinarily, I'm wearing a bow tie. This may be the one and only time you see me wearing a bow tie. It is because I'm introducing you to a new person. He is Sir Komi Kia. And with that, here endeth my Sunday sermon.